know, I was doing a little research on your background. You have quite the background in the private sector coming into this role, so I'm always curious when people make that leap into government.
Yes.
Running through a little bit, you were with X most recently, you spent time at Dow Jones, Wall Street Journal, NBC in the media space. So tell us about that transition, you know, why you kind of made the leap into the government role at USPTO and how you're using that to sort of navigate this evolving AI dynamic in that agency.
Yes, so it's been an interesting transition, absolutely, but there's a lot of more commonality than you would expect coming into the organization. I'm at USPTO, just for everybody that you're familiar with. It's about 13,000 plus employees, and we generate about $5 billion in fee-funded revenue. We actually we go through about 1.5 million applications a year. So it's a massive, complex organization, very similar to the private sector and what I've come from. So the challenge there was really about how can we help modernize that agency and really help advance. We look at all these applications for patents and trademarks as growing the economy and innovation. So for me, it was an incredible opportunity to come in and really make an impact. And I come from the private sector with a very much of an operational mindset. And I think that's really what's been benefiting me there, which is really how do we move very quickly, get some really quick wins, and then execute and keep things moving fastly, and then actually kind of breaking boundaries there.
Fantastic. Well, I know you haven't been in the role too long, but I would imagine you've started to get a sense of AI and how it's been used prior to your joining, and then, you know, some of the initiatives you've been driving. So give us sort of a run through some of the top ways that you see USPTO deploying AI to date, and give us a sense of how you're working through identifying some of those top use cases.
Yes. So I would say before I arrived, it was very opportunistic, the projects that were going on there. But what we ended up doing is really setting measurable results and defining specific KPIs for us to greenlight a new case study and launch a new AI tool. Those KPIs are very basic. We have a large backlog of applications, which has been in the press quite a bit. It's over 750,000. So one of our main things is how do we reduce the pendency that we have. The second KPI is improving the quality of the workforce that's coming, the work quality coming out of the patent and trademark applications. Then obviously it's trying to find efficiencies, and we've been able to reduce tens of millions of dollars already since I've gotten there on contracts and things like that, that now we're having the AI tools basically take over that work. And then finally, it was also what I mentioned is generating additional fees for the agency. So if the first three are working well and working quick, the flywheel effect, then we're generating more fees at the agency, which ultimately are taxpayer dollars. So we're giving it right back to the government, which is fantastic.
So I understand you kind of pitched yourself as driven by operational efficiency, and I'm curious, when you think about evaluating AI, and that's, you know, ultimately what this is about, you want AI to have some outcome and to drive progress. How are you evaluating that? What are some of the ways you're measuring it to know that the AI that you're instituting is actually living up to what it's been put in place for?
Yeah, we give you a great example. We just launched in our trademark journey and the application process there about 5 weeks ago. We put in 3 AI tools that are targeting the pre-application process. And what it has done is that pre-application process, if you were to file a trademark application, it would actually take 5 months before that application would go into the system. With these 3 AI tools that we launched, that 5 months has now been reduced to 5 seconds. So that's a huge, huge advancement as far as addressing the workload that I was talking about, dependency, the quality of those AI tools and the output. What was previously done manually, now the quality is actually increased off of that. So that's a measurable result. So, and then obviously we're able to reduce some contracts and vendor contracts and things like that that we're paying outside sources to help us with that. Now that's all being generated with AI tools. So that's just one example, Billy, of what we're doing. If we're looking at the, on the patent side, that's an area where it's just ripe for AI innovation. And we have probably about a dozen AI tools right now in various stages of maturity. And we're seeing the benefits of that already. We just announced, I think just a couple of days ago, that it's the first time in 10 years that we're actually the patents we're issuing patents faster than we have in the last 10 years. And a lot of that has to do with all the efforts that the director and deputy director put in place, but AI is fueling a lot of that advancement, which is fantastic.
So as we close out, we talked going into this conversation, you pitched USPTO as sort of the innovation agency of the federal government.
Yeah.
Tell me what comes next. So what are you excited to do? You've been in this for a couple months, but just kind of leave us with a closing thought.
Yes, I would say the big thing for us is really leaning into the agentic approach. I also oversee data, and I saw Sean was talking about data, and Sarah was just talking about change management. We're putting a huge change management for AI into the agency implementation program on that. We're also updating all of our data to making sure it's AI ready for the agentic. So I'd say what comes next is you're really going to see the journey maps condensed quite a bit. We're looking to reduce that 750,000 backlog of applications in about a year and a half. That should come down almost to just steady business as usual. So that's our goal, and we're really lined to deliver on that.
Fantastic. Rob, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your thoughts. Let's give him a round of applause.